This video, we will continue on the beginner's guide to Pygame Zero in the Python language. So if you're just starting with this video, you want to go to github.com, Programming Rainbow, beginner's guide to Pygame Zero. You want to clone that repository, move inside the directory, and since this is the third video, you're going to want to take the code that is in video 2 folder, video 2, this main.py, and you'll want to move that or copy that into the top level directory, because that's where we left off with in the last video, which was video number 2. Okay, so let me just show you where we ended off with in the code. So we have the true type font text that we created, and it's moving around the screen. It's bouncing off the walls. We have a background image. We have the color that we can change randomly for the color behind the background, the render color. And we have closed it. We have a title up here called moving text. We also have an icon that I showed in the first video for the screen being displayed. So in this video, we are going to be loading a player sprite, and we're going to be controlling that with the keyboard, but in a different way that we've gotten key events before, but now we're going to be controlling movement with the keyboard, which is slightly different than key events. It's going to give us smoother movement. So over here, first thing we're going to need is to load a player sprite. So Pygame Zero tries to make this very easily by giving us an actor class. It's part of the built-in objects. If you go up here and you're looking on the left, if you're in the built-ins, it's going to be the actor right here. And this is quite simple. You just give it the name of the image that you want to load. It's got to be in the images folder. And it's going to give you back an actual instance of the class. I'm not going to use this right here. I'm assuming this is the top left-hand corner, X and Y. We can test this though. So this is the class that it's going to load the image. It's going to return us an instance of the class. And then we can actually use the class has its kind of a rect built into it. So it's going to give us all the things that a rect can give us, like X, Y, left, right, all that stuff that we used before with the rect for the text that we did in the last video. The actor class is going to have all that included into it. So it's going to give us the image, and it's going to give us a rect built into it, and we'll be able to use that to move it around the screen. Okay, so the actor class loads images from the image folder. So up here in our images folder, I have this Python logo that we've already used in the very first video to loading the screen icon. So we're going to use that as our player sprite. So in the game class, I'm going to, down below this where we were dealing with the text in the last video, we're going to be adding this new, and I'm just going to call it sprite. So it'll be self.sprite. And it's going to be an instance of the actor class. And I'm just going to call this, we're not calling this, we're using the name Python logo right here. So the actor's already looking for images in the images folder, and it's already going to figure out the suffix for us, the PNG. So we just need the actual name of the image. So Python logo is the name. So that's going to be enough just to load an image for us. And let's go back here. We draw the image just by telling it to draw itself. So in their example code, they have loaded it and they've called it alien. This is a global variable. You shouldn't do this right here. That's why we're putting it in the class. And you draw it just with alien draw. Okay. So that's going to be simple enough. Let's just do that. So we're going to go into our draw method of our game class. And we'll just draw the sprite to draw itself. Since we called it sprite, we'll say sprite draw. And we have the same problem with the actor right here. This is self, by the way, too. I've messed up. Okay, so we have the same problem with actor, but we can just add it in right here. And yeah, that fixes it up for us. So now we have our player sprite. It's in the top left-hand corner. So let's manipulate that number just to verify that it is. I didn't see it in the text there, but just off the top of my head, it is the X and Y initial position. But let's just check. Is it a tuple that it used? Yeah, it's a tuple. So let's put it at 300 by 20. Okay. So I'm not liking this because the center, isn't it? Let's change this. I'm going to put it at 0, 0. And I have this idea that it's actually the center. Whoops. Yeah, it is. Okay. And then I could probably just tell it top left. Does it not mention this? Position. Yeah, that's center, I guess, is the default. So if I said top left, where is it? In my code, I don't do this at all. I'm just exploring this. I'm going to say top left equals. That's kind of how the Pygame works. There we go. Okay. So for us, we don't need this anyway, so I'm not going to even worry about that, but that was just interesting. I didn't have that in my notes. So I'm not going to put any of that in there at all. This does already have the rectangle built in and all that, so we can just manipulate. So if you don't have anything, it's using the top left centered in the, so it's going to be displayed on the screen correctly still. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so we have this player, but we want to move it around. And there's a problem here. If we were to use this right here, this is an event. So I'm not sure if they're naming it as an event in here in Pygame. Okay, so I'll tell you what this is. Under the hood, this is a key event. So this is a keyboard event. So this is when you push the key down or lift the key up. There's an event that occurs, and that's going to be one time. So, but your keyboard actually does repeat. So if you press like K, the letter K, you get 1K. It doesn't do K, 100 times. It just does it once. But if you keep holding K down, after like a half a second or a second, it starts repeating it, but not too fast. It repeats it just enough so you can put a couple of on before you lift it up. So that's not actually writing a K every screen refresh. That would be way too many. So it's this event, but then it's kind of letting the event repeat, but in a slower fashion so you can see it. Now, this isn't helpful at all when you want to make a game and you want your game to move around. What you really want is you want the state of the key. You don't want a key event. You want just, is the key down right now? So these are good for events, like pressing the space bar to change the color. I just want it to happen one time. That's a key event. That's fine. But for moving things, I want it to check at every single frame. Is it in that state? So we need something else. And these are hooks. These are event hooks. Yeah. So all of these are events. But there's and over here in built-in objects, like actor, screen, and all those things, there's a keyboard. If we look up here on the top left, so the keyboard right here. So they have this built-in, I guess it's a class object or whatever. But what this is doing, and this is giving us the state of the keyboard whenever we check it. This is just giving us the state, not an action. If you press a key down, and say 10 frames go by, if you press and hold H down and 10 frames go by, you're only going to get one H event that happened in one of those frames. But if I check the state of H every single frame, it's going to be down every single frame. So this is going to give me the state of it. Is it down or up? And I can just say keyboard dot. And this is another one that's, we're going to have to, tell it to ignore it complaining about it. The old way you could do it was very much like the SDL2 way. This is the way you would do it in SDL. It would be SDL _K _A. Now they've just done it where they're just saying to use lowercase letters. That's fine. And they're all just straightforward, simple. So yeah, that's what that looks like. So we're just going to be able to use this to test it in if statements. So it is going to complain when we use the keyboard, so we're going to throw it in here as well. And this one's not capitalized. This is just keyboard, I think. Yeah. Yeah. We'll just assume that that's correct for the moment. So what I want to do is that, like we did with this update text, we made this method for that. I'm going to make a method that is update sprite. Okay. So this is going to be called every frame. So we'll put it into the right here. Self.update sprite. Perfect. So down here, what we want to do now is we don't want to, here we are automatically moving the rect X every single frame. But in here, we don't want to do that. We want to check to see if a key is in the down state every frame. So we know we have this keyboard. So, and we can just use right, left, up, down for the arrow keys, and we can use ASWD. So I can just make a simple if statement. I can say if keyboard, and then I say dot left, right? If it's left, then I want to move it. Now, sorry, I don't know. I don't think I put the velocity up here. So I'm going to make a new velocity I forgot to do. I'm going to call it self sprite bell. I'm going to say that is equal to 5. Okay, we don't need an X velocity and a Y velocity. We just need a velocity. So we have that velocity now. I'm just going to save it real quick so I have access to it down here. So now down here, so if this key is in the down state, so this is just going to return a true or false right here. So it's an if statement. If this is true, it's being pressed. If it's false, it's not being pressed. Very simple. So we'll say self.sprite and X, or we could say left. Well, we'll say X. And if I'm moving left, I need to decrement because I'm moving from right to left. So I'm getting smaller numbers. So I'm going to say minus equals self.sprite velocity. Yeah. Really straightforward. Now, I'm not going to do an if else, like if left and then if else or elif or whatever it is in Python, elif. I'm not going to do an elif right. Okay. Because if I press the left key, I want to move left. And if I press the right key, I want to move right. But if I use elif, if I press the left and right key together, I'm going to move left. Because the left was the first if, elif never gets checked. So pressing both keys should not make me move left. It should not make me move at all. So what I'm going to do is put an if on all of them. So if left and right are pressed, they'll actually both move, but it'll reset me back to the center because they're both opposites. Okay, so I'm not going to do an elif here. I'm just going to do another if. And keyboard.right. And then I'll say self.sprite X, and I'll say plus equals self.sprite velocity. Okay? Okay, I've done something here. I didn't put self right here. Okay. So let's, I'm just going to check this real quick just to make sure this is right. Okay. So moving left, moving right. I'm pressing left and right together. Okay, I'm holding them down, nothing's happening. I let up the left, so I let up the right key, so I'm moving left. I let up on the left key, so I'm moving right. Okay. Now let's show the elif version. So if I were to do elif, so I can move right, I can move left, but here's what happens when I press them both. I'm going to press them both down and hold them. And I'm moving left. I don't want that. So I'm not going to do the elif. But what I will do is I'll throw in an or up here, and we can use the arrow keys, or we could use the ASWD keys. So for left, it's going to be A, because that's the left part of ASWD. If you don't know, the ASWD keys look like the arrow keys, but they're on the left side of the keyboard. I'll say or keyboard dot right would be D. So now I should have the option to use either or combined. It doesn't really matter. So right, and here's D, here's left, and here's A. Now I'll press D and right together. They both work. I'll press right and A. Those are opposites. And it doesn't move. Perfect. So all we need to do now is set up the Y's. So I'm just going to copy this. Just going to yank it, paste it here. And then for left, it's going to be up. That's the equivalent on the Y. And this will be W. And this is going to be decrementing the Y. And then for right, it will be down. And that will be S. And it will be incrementing the Y. Okay, that should give us all of the directions. Okay. Oh, that's not right. I pressed D and I went diagonally. Watch this. So that key's not right. And S doesn't work at all. And D is going diagonal. Okay, so I got a problem there. So D, do I have D written two places here? Left, A, right, yeah. I got a D here. Down should be S. Down should be S. That was probably it. That one letter in the wrong spot was probably messing both D and S up. So D, S, A, W. Okay, perfect. Can do everything I tell it to do with both sides, works perfectly. And I can still change the colors. And we need to change the title. So up here at the top, we'll say this one will be called Player Sprite. Okay, let's check it. Player Sprite, yes. Okay. Love it. Okay. That was pretty easy. Okay, let's just walk through the code real quick. So we've added actor and keyboard here, so it doesn't complain. It'll complain on both of those. So actor and keyboard are added into the initializer method, or whatever this. We have added in a new instance of actor, which is loading the image Python logo. And that's again in the images folder. That's our instance is called Sprite. We are also creating a Sprite velocity variable that is 5. And we're telling Sprite to draw itself. It has that method already on the class, the actor class, so it can draw itself. And we've made a new method of the game class for update Sprite. And that method is right down here. And we're using the keyboard. This again, it doesn't give us an event. It just tells us the state. In this frame, is this key right now in the down position? That's all it's doing. It's not saying, did you press it from up to down? It's just saying, hey, is it down right now? That's what I want to know. And that's perfect for kind of game movements that you want to use something like this. So this is keyboard.left or A. This one's right or D, up or W. You get the idea. You can type in the arrows. You can type in the letters. It's all pretty self-explanatory here. And everything else down here is the same. So that's how you check the state of the keyboard versus how you check keyboard events. Okay, and that's how you load a sprite using the actor class, and how you draw any instance of the actor class. You just tell it to draw itself. Okay, so I hope that was good. Thanks for watching. Bye.